Hi everyone, and welcome to the UALR School of Business Major Day podcast. I'm thrilled about today's episode because we are diving into the exciting and evolving world of generative AI in advertising, PR, and marketing. Joining us today is Armand McCoy, a faculty member in strategic communication area at the Gaylord College of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of Oklahoma. And Armand also serves as executive director and faculty advisor to Lindsey and Asif, Gaylord College award-winning student-run strategic communications agency. With nearly 15 years of experience in advertising and strategic communications, including leading roles at a top creative agency and work with organizations like the United Nations and the City of Moore, Armand bring a wealth of insight into how advertising intersect or strategic communications or strategy intersect with the strategy, creativity, and youth culture. Armand, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, to kick things off, Armand, could you briefly introduce yourself in your own words and tell us a bit about your current role within strategic communication and marketing in your organization?
Of course, definitely. Again, thank you so much for having me and the opportunity for us to collaborate and share. Um, but I'm very lucky and blessed. Every day when I work with Lindsey and Asp, um, I get to advise and help grow and help develop the next generation of advertising, public relations, and strategic communications professionals. And so, as a professionally run student-led agency focused on youth culture, um, it's an opportunity for students to work with, uh, to do real work for real clients within a learning lab type environment where they are broken up into teams, very much like they would be in agencies in which they want to work after they leave the four walls of Gaylord College, to really help prepare them and build them up and cultivate them as leaders and creative professionals and strategic thinkers um, for our industry of today and our industry that is to come. So every day is interesting and fun and full of growth, and it's in many ways an opportunity for them to find a space and the opportunity to hopefully, as I like to share with them, uh, in this challenging industry, to hopefully uh, continue to fail forward so that they continue to get better and hone their craft.
Sounds very exciting. Uh, yeah, thank you for the introduction. And then you've had such a diverse and impactful career. How would you describe the current state of advertising and marketing landscape? And what trends do you find most exciting or concerning right now?
Um, I think um, advertising and marketing and strategic communication um, is ever changing. I think that
Yeah.
if there is a one guarantee of my time in this space of the last 15 years, is if there's a keyword, it's or some keywords, I would say it's change,
Yeah.
adapt,
Right.
pivot. Um, and I'd say right now, the industry's, particularly in my particular area in advertising, is I think in an interesting time of uh, you know helping organizations and brands uh, tell their story in the right place at the right time to the right audience to get the desired results or outcome. I think will always be a need and a constant, but I think now we're at a time of flux of uh, what brands need and what the structures are in which we can provide them. And so I think, um, you know, I think we're seeing particularly our larger agencies that are holding companies, or where you might have gone to sometimes a full service agency to handle every one of your brand's needs. If we think we're seeing the rise of more specialized um, providers and vendors in the world, I think, to our opportunity here at Lindsey and Ask, that we've seen that as a value add for us as a youth culture agency, staffed and focused on what we have a lot of, which is access to young people. We found that to be, I think, a opportunity for us and a differentiator for us, where we've been able to partner with agencies and brands, um, and just be that youth culture agency of record for what their needs are, and they still have other agencies that handle the other needs. But I think now is an interesting time. We've seen a lot of movement in the industry,
Mhm.
lots of consolidations, major holding companies. So definitely, it's a very interesting time in which we are talking today. Definitely
Right.
in the industry.
And exciting at the same time, it's very challenging, right?
Yes, yes, very, very challenging to kind of uh, see what is to come in an ever-changing, fast-moving
Right.
world, and technology is. I'm sure we're going to dig into it. Definitely plays a part in
Okay. Right. As you mentioned, as we talked about, like you're currently leading Lead Gen Asset, a nationally recognized student-run agency, right?
that.
And so could already talked about your experience, but uh, could you share how your experience directing this team has shaped your approach to kind of integrating generative AI or AI tools into strategic communication and how you've been leading students in navigating this evolving space?
Mhm. I think, I mean, technology and AI is, um, it's continually, as it's becoming even more commonplace, um, has been something that I've continually been exposing our students to within the agency to keep them up to date on um, where there may be opportunity. So within the agency, so using systems like uh, you know AI type systems like 11 Labs, whether it be for as they're kind of developing maybe some audio creative or a
Mhm.
series of Spotify ads for one of our clients. It's very um, um, unique and beneficial way for them to be able to kind of take their ideas and concepts from the creative brief and through the creative process into potentially that first draft that we can put before a client to kind of like, oh, here's what we're thinking, or utilizing a system like ChatGPT or DALL-E at the time. Now ChatGPT now has that integration with be able to develop imagery, that not, of course, being the final product in any way, but generative AI to help um, um, them more effectively communicate not only with the client of uh, denoting this is a generative AI image that's being developed. This is kind of what we are thinking. Are we in alignment with um, um, what we believe is the best solution, and what you believe is the best solution? Something that kind of looks like
Mhm.
this, before we really dig into the nuts and bolts and specifics to create to make sure that there's alignment. Um, so I think there's a lot of opportunity as a tool to help, um, hopefully, maybe I would say, um, clean the scales on the ice to make sure that things are in alignment and be able to move a little bit quicker and kind of putting things together, or at least those initial uh, sketches and drafts of what we were thinking
Oh.
so that you can keep moving and going, oh, I think I see something like this that's being created where it's been helpful, um, or sometimes even just a alternative tool of creativity. So um, not only using other sources, of course, for secondary, primary research, but using the tool to say, can you help me determine what are the 10 or 15 cliches about, let's say it's a brand that's like laundry detergent. What's 10 or 12 cliches when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to how laundry detergent is usually marketed if we're trying to think of something different? Or can you help me think of trying to, maybe make this piece that we're producing, maybe it's a series of reels or something like that for a client, and we go, I want to make it feel more hopeful. Could you give me a list of, you know, 10 famous uh, hope-filled campaigns, in the last 50 years that might be a good um, uh, perspective for me and my team to just watch as far as content to go, oh, I love the way that maybe Apple produced this commercial to create a level of hope, and that could be kind of a base in trying to um, determine a potential direction as far as which way we may go. So I think it's a lot of that kind of helpful that initial, I think, beginning stage to just kind of get the juices flowing, knock the dust off, get some background, get some perspective. Um, and then also, I think in many ways, you know, uh, begin to think of where are areas where we could begin digging, um, and getting a little bit of background of, particularly with a new client, they're using a lot of terminology that I may not know. So being able to utilize generative AI and say, okay, what does this mean? They're
Oh,
using this term and that term, and okay, now I have some background as to what that means, or maybe a little bit of general history, just to kind of
okay.
get myself some background, and then be able to know here's where we need to start really digging.
All right. Wow. So I think you just answered my next questions. It's about like what are some of the most significant way you are seeing generative AI shape advertising and communication strategy right now. But
Mm-hmm.
you just mentioned the in your agency as a tools, right? As a tool,
Mm-hmm.
you're actually utilizing generative AI tools like 11 Labs, ChatGPT, DALL-E, Midjourney, something like that, uh, to from the research and brainstorm,
Mm-hmm.
and then effective for and like effective communications with your clients as well, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and so it seems like you're creating storyboards and then consulting uh, your clients based on the type of brainstorming process.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I think that's great. I mean, now where it's, if you're, wanting to, you film maybe a short piece for a client, it's, oh, storyboarding is wonderful. Now I can remember,
wonderful.
how
Yeah,
much time went into having to storyboard just to, get concepts, or being able to, in your deck that you're putting together to kind of present an idea to a client, to be able to go, um, I need imagery of uh, young Gen Z office workers in an
right,
office environment, and be able to generate that fairly quickly. That allows you to find the areas where you can be most efficient with your time, um, and being able to still, get that idea across, and keep the trains moving. So I think there's so many things now that um, I wish I had, earlier in my career,
right.
where quite a bit of time,
Yeah,
and particularly given my background. Not uh, I'm not a designer, and design wasn't my background, um, but how helpful that would have been, I can't remember how many wonderful and amazing art directors, God bless them, that I would be having to hand draw stuff on on the back of pieces of paper to
Right.
kind of go, here's what I see, um, based on the information that I have. It's something maybe like this, and they're going, having to point to my, terrible handwriting, going, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. I get your perspective
Right.
on what you think, or here's what I heard from that meeting, where it's helpful. Um,
Yeah. I mean, it's like deploying those AI tools,
mm,
especially for the creating
mm,
creativity, for your
mm,
creativity. I cannot imagine,
mm,
or like you just mentioned, it'll be great if I had these tools, these tools
mm,
when when I'm studying advertising marketing
mm,
in undergraduate or like as a professional career. So
mm. Yeah, so I mean, it's impressive. I mean, I think of,
right,
even AI's integration to existing software. So Premiere Pro, um,
right,
in agency, we did a lot of video production and did a lot of interviews, and so I can remember how much time will be spent just transcribing
right,
interviews,
right,
um, in how, though there are still imperfections in AI, for it to be able to, very quickly
right,
transcribe, or I remember having to close caption,
right.
you know, now, that integration with even Premiere means it can do that work. You still need to go back through, but it's so much faster
Yeah,
to have that do the work and then go in and listen to, be able to listen to your recording at, one and a quarter or one and a half times,
right.
to make those small, adjustments, especially, you know, in maybe a piece of content or marketing where really we're looking for that, maybe that one or two really awesome lines for a piece. We can find it
Right.
through, maybe it was a 25-minute interview, to find those nuggets, and then we can go back and clean it up. But it say hours.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, yeah, thank you for sharing kind of behind the scene
Hmm.
experience with AI because like normal people or like many of the students here do not have that type of like video editing or interviewing
Hmm.
experience. So it's really helpful. So
Hmm.
like faster, easier, and then greater, right?
Hmm.
With the AI, and if you are diving into the generative or utilizing generative AI effectively, right? But then, because we've just talked about like the opportunities and then some excitement about like utilizing generative AI. So now let's a little bit talk about like challenges. So
Hmm.
as with any new technology, there are challenges, right? So what are
Hmm.
some potential pitfalls or ethical concerns marketers should keep in mind when using generative AI, or how you
And
your student?
I mean, I think there's a couple, concerns. One,